Our first problem today is also the warm-up. You are in a book club, cookbook club, and you need to buy some cookbooks. There's 4 different stores. You are going to start by writing an equation for the total. So all these are going to be like total equals. When that's done, you're going to go down here and do number 2, and you're going to find how many books you can buy. Those are all going to be n equals, number of books. If you finish number 1, number 2 is going to be much easier. So I would say, do number 1 for all 4 first, then worry about number 2. Let's go. $9 each. What's that going to look like in an equation? 9n. 9 each. $9 each plus $5 shipping. Daniel.
Yep. Good job, Daniel.
What's the equation?
The equation is n equals 9.
No, okay. We're still on the totals for number 2, store B.
T equals 9 plus 5.
Okay. We need to get the each in there, my man. So that's good. That's a good start. There is a 9 and a 5 there. How are you going to show 9 each?
What?
How are you going to show? How are you going to show 9 each in your equation?
N.
9n. Okay. And then what else? Is that all I'm paying? $9 each?
No. Plus 5.
Plus 5 for shipping. Okay, there we go. For store C, Ryan. That's right.
T equals P plus 5.
P dollars. So P dollars each. So we're going to do PN. It didn't say each that time, so I'm plus $5 shipping. Okay. And Claire, last one. Okay, so T equals PN plus F. So it's kind of the same thing. We just have more unknowns, so we have more variables, right? I like how Daniel said earlier. If we don't know how much it is, that's kind of a gamble, right? We need to know what some of these values are. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to practice writing all of them. If we know the total, how many books we could get. So n equals, looking at the first one. If I want to get n alone, Haley, what would I do to both sides? For the first one. Subtraction undoes addition. I like how you said that. But what operation is it if it's 9n? That's multiplication. How would I undo that? Division. So I need to take the total. If I divide the total by $9 per book, would that tell me how many books I can get?
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So store B. Who would like to tell me how many books I can get with that situation? Store B. Daniel? I just saw your hand go up. So what's going to happen to the total to find 1 book? I'm going to take the total. What do I got to do to it first? For store B.
Add 5.
So it is adding 5. Is that shipping going to account for each book or just once?
Just 1.
So I'm going to take away the 5 from the total.
Oh, yeah.
So with the total that's left, that's all for books. How am I going to split that up among my books? What operation? Divide by n, number of books. Okay, that's store 2. If I take my total, take off the shipping, the rest of the money's for the books. Now, cool, if you've been just watching, C and D is actually the same thing. We just have some different stuff. Riley?
What did you do? Wait, what did you divide by 9?
Yeah, I messed that up. It is 9. $9 per book. We know the price per book. Okay, so Riley, give me the third one there.
2 minus 5 over P.
Yeah, so the difference here is we don't know the price per book, so instead of 9, we have P. Last one, Peyton. So we're going to start with my total. I need to take away what first?
Minus F.
Yeah, because I'm going to take my shipping off the total price. And then what?
Divide by,
And just divide by P. Yep, because the P is the price per book. So again, we're just scaling it up, more variables, more variables. We flipped the independent variable. So what kind of functions did we just make?
Inverted.
Yeah, it's close to inverted. Yesterday's lesson. I think I heard Peyton say. Inverse functions. If you need to write that down, write it down. These are inverse functions. We flip the variables. They're equivalent. If you remember from equivalent equations, same thing to both sides. We make a new equivalent equation. Okay, we're going to continue to practice this. We're going to practice it with Celsius Fahrenheit. There is a conversion. That's right here. Here's your conversion. If we know Celsius, we can slap it up in here, and we get Fahrenheit. When you go to use your calculator, I find the easiest way to use a fraction is what operation? It's division. So usually when I put 9/5 in my calculator, I put parenthesis 9 divided by 5. That is 9/5. It literally is 9/5. 9/5 is 9 divided by 5. So what I suggest you do is for these three, put in Celsius, get Fahrenheit. But these three, you don't have Celsius, you have Fahrenheit, right? So what you're going to want to do is, for these three, you're going to want to solve for C first. You're going to want to get the inverse function. It's going to be easier, okay? By the inverse function, instead of f equals, you would look to make a function that is C equals. All right, get after it with your partner. We'll do number 3 together. Okay, so Connor's saying 0 degrees Celsius is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. How do you know?
Well, once you get to 0, you just add the 32.
So you put 0 in for C, you get 0 plus 32 is 32. Okay, Ryan, what about that 100? So how'd you get that? Put 100 in for C. 9/5 of 100 is 180 plus 32. Okay, what about the 25? 77. You put 25 in for C, you get 77 for F. Okay, now, there's more than one way to do this next part. My personal favorite is to get C isolated first, because if you don't, it's just a 2-step equation, but if I have to do a 2-step equation 6 or 3 times, how many times am I doing it? 6 times. If I just do it the first time, and then just plug in and not have to solve anymore, I did it once. So, I'm going to start over with my F equals function, and I'm going to isolate C. What's the first thing I can get rid of?
32.
Plus 32. How do I get rid of plus 32? So I'm going to subtract 32 from both sides. So I have F minus 32 equals 9/5 C. This is straight up from our equivalent equations lesson in our equations unit. I need to get C alone still. How do I get rid of times 9/5? Well, usually you would divide by 9/5, but with fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. That is dividing. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 5/9. That gets rid of this. So here's what I'm using. I'm using the function then C equals 5/9 times F minus 32. This is the inverse function. Okay? So to use this inverse function, the reason it's nice is, now if I plug in F, do I need to do anything to get anything alone? No, I can just plug in F and get an answer. So I'm going to add 30, or I'm going to subtract 32 from the temperature and multiply by 5/9. So if I do that with 104, I'm going to throw 104 in for F. It's 104 minus 32, which is 72. I multiply by 5/9, and I get 40 degrees. Some people will put it in up here, and then you got to do 2 steps. And then you do it again, you got to do 2 steps. I don't have to do any steps once I just did 2 steps once. So next for F, instead of 104, what am I going to put in there? 50. So 50 minus 32, and then I'm going to multiply by 5/9. I got 10 degrees. Next one in, 62.6. That goes in for F. Subtract 32. Multiply by 5/9. So times, I like to do parentheses 5 divided by 9. That gives me 17 degrees Celsius. And this gets used a lot. So even though we use Fahrenheit mostly in our day-to-day, even like my wife's a nurse, when they take people's temperature, it's in Celsius. They might tell you, they like do the conversion on the computer right there. They tell you what is in Fahrenheit because that's what you understand. But in all the computers and stuff, this thing called EPIC, that's their computer thing, it's always in Celsius, in your heights and meters, centimeters, and stuff like that. So this conversion gets used a lot in our day-to-day since the rest of the world uses the metric system. Now, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this ranking. I'm going to show you what's up with this. That's the one that they use. It's like a Fahrenheit to Kelvin kind of thing used like in thermodynamics. So it's a real unit. And what they're saying is, if I know Celsius, I can find that Rankine by doing this. This down here is the inverse, and it's asking, how can we prove that it's the inverse? And all I want you to do is watch. Don't even worry about getting notes for this. So what they did to get this inverse is they distributed 9/5. Everybody good with distribution here? So when you distribute 9/5, we get R equals 9/5 C plus 491.67. And if I'm getting the inverse instead of R equals, I'm looking to make it C equals. Everybody see that general idea?
Wait, what did you get, 491?
It's 9/5 of 273.15. You can use your calculator, okay? So now if I'm trying to get C alone, the next thing I have to do is subtract 491.67. And that leaves me with R minus 491.67 equals 9/5 C. How do I get rid of times 9/5? Divide by 9/5, but since it's a fraction, that means we would multiply by 5/9. So we're going to multiply by 5/9. We know from equivalent equations, if you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other. C is now alone, and I have 5/9 times R minus 491.67. So this inverse function is equivalent. We just switched which one's which. And you'd want to be able to switch which one's which, because if you're putting in ranking, you want this one. If you're putting in the R, you want this one. If you're putting in the C, you want this one. All right? Maybe you see that ranking one in, like I said, like thermodynamics, things that deal with heat in college, you might see it. Last thing for the day. You're in the science club and you're buying mugs because you want to be the flyest kids at Sip and Reads, okay? It's going to be for your science club. Here's what you need to be able to answer. How many mugs can you guys afford? And you need to write an equation to show it. What you need to do right now, 1 minute with your partner, is come up with questions you would need to ask me in order to answer this. So you don't have the information to answer it yet. You need to be ready to ask me questions to get the information to answer it. And I'm not going to tell you how many mugs they can't afford. I'm going to give you information to get there, right? So don't ask me that. Someone's still going to ask me that. Okay. Come up with a list for me of questions. What information do you want, Connor? Give me something.
How much is a mug?
Oh, how much is a mug? I'll tell you. $10.80 per mug.
That's a deal.
It's not as good a deal. My Fortnite mug, $2.99. Good one, boy. All right. Yeah.
How much money does the club have?
Oh, total money. But what's our budget? $120 budget.
Question, Mr.
Daniel.
Are we ordering them online? If we are, what is the shipping cost?
Oh. No shipping price.
Bang.
There is one, but they're going to be cool about it. They're going to be like, hey, you're kids. You're in the club. Bella. Oh, let's see. It doesn't matter because the question is just how many mugs can you buy?
Did they
So,
order?
so some kids, maybe we'll buy more than the kids in the club. Maybe we'll have less.
How much the customer?
Trip.
How much the discount?
Oh, we need to know the discount. The discount is $4.40.
$4.40 a mug.
Yeah, $4.40 a mug.
Dang.
So it's for the kids. Okay. You guys need to tell me how many mugs they can afford. You've got all the information you need, and then write an equation with those variables. How many mugs can we get, friends? 18. And from walking around and listening, it sounded like most people did something like 1080 minus 440 to get a price per mug.
This is 75.
And then they took that and divided 120 by that. Okay, so let's work on getting that into an equation. So the equation needs to be how many they can buy as a function of the price. So M is how many they can buy. What was our budget again?
120.
We did 120 and we divided that as the regular price minus 440. So there's the equation M. Now this is going to be a challenge, but a good challenge. Notice the language. I want you to try to get the inverse function for this. The inverse function would be what is the original price per mug dependent on the number of mugs. So we still have a discount. Same function, I just want it to be P equals. Again, I'm acknowledging this is a challenge. Does that mean we don't try though, if it seems to? No, we're gonna try our best, okay? Let's say we get a wrong answer. The whole thing's a dumpster fire. Who's gonna tighten it up at the end for you? I'm going to, but you got to. Daniel's going to. No, you guys, you're going to try. I'm going to give you one hint. I'll give you the first move you got to make because I don't know if you've seen this solving an equation before. Do you notice that the thing you're trying to get alone P is in the denominator? That's problematic when trying to do this. You cannot have something in the denominator if you're trying to solve for it. So the first thing you've got to do is get it out of the denominator. So let me give you check out. I'm going to give you some fresh paper here. Boom. Woo. Okay. I'm going to give you your first move even. So to get it out of the denominator, which actually doesn't help you get it alone yet, is to multiply both sides by P minus 4.4. Multiply both sides by P minus 4.4. Because if I'm dividing by P minus 4.4, but then I multiply it by it, what happens to it? It's gone. So here's where we're at. I'm helping you out here. Here's where we're at. We're at M times P minus 4.4 equals 120. And what this is saying is, if I take the number of mugs and multiply it by the original price minus discount, I have a $120 budget. Do you see how? I always encourage us when we rearrange things, we can see it in context. So you're going to continue the work to get P equals here. The goal, let's write it up here. Goal, oops, that's not writing. Goal. P equals is the goal. Do your best, let's go. So here's what's up. Remember, when we're undoing things, it's the reverse order of operations, right? We do it and then undo it. So the next thing I have to get rid of is what? M or negative 4.4?
Negative 4.4. Oh, wait, no.
It's M, reverse order of operations. So if parentheses happens first to do something, to undo it, it has to happen last. Okay? So the next thing I need to do is divide both sides by M. I'm trying to get P alone. So what's M divided by M?
M.
It's 1, it's gone. Anything divided by itself is 1. So I've got P minus 4.4 equals 120 divided by M. In context, what this means is this. The original price minus 4.4, which gives me the new discounted price, is equal to the budget divided by the number of months. Okay? One more step. How do I get rid of minus 4.4? Add 4.4.
Oh.
So P equals the original price is the total divided by the number of mugs plus 4.4. Yeah. So if the number of mugs being purchased were changed, this would give you the original price. The inverse operation, we switched M and we switched P. So this is an inverse of this.
Is that going to be on the test?
Oh yeah, well, I'm probably not going to give you a letter in the denominator, but the same general ideas for sure. Do the same thing to both sides to make a new equivalent equation is a big idea. And inverse operations means your independent and dependent variables are changing. That's going to be all over your test.
Yeah.
We do have a lesson summary, friends.